Oh, this is embarrassing, but this device is not allowing my webcam to be used with YouTube. So this is my live. My live is just basically trying to finish my video that I got cut off with, and I believe I was talking about my Aunt Alice. It's really so uninspiring to be sitting in my cell here, um, rather than being outside where it's bright sunshiny and I can, you know, look around and see things happening and enjoy the sunshine. But I now lost the record button on my YouTube program on my phone. And so now I can't even make a recording on YouTube with my phone. And what I found is none of my data I'm going to be able to get off of this phone because my iTunes, which is how you know, upload your pictures off of your phone so that your device doesn't run out of memory. Um, so mine is totally disabled now. And I already went to T-Mobile with my insurance policy and asked them if I could have if I could have another phone in exchange for this one because it got broken and I did a repair on it. But now I still can't hook it up to the iTunes. So the iTunes doesn't even see the phone now. And I don't know if that's a hardware problem because the phone was damaged or if it's some kind of bug in the software. And so all of a sudden I had to cough. Um, I was sitting here fine until I start making the video and then I start coughing. So, anyway, what I want to say about the shop girls by day, call girl by night, this was in New York City. And if my so called mother, Carol Ann, went to visit Aunt Alice, it had to be before she got pregnant and met my dad and got pregnant and had my sister. And so it must have been like 59, 1959. Anyway, that year was the garbage strike. And that's the two things I remember from Carol Ann describing her trip to visit her big sister in New York. Because they were, Aunt Alice and Uncle Jim were in their 20s when Carol Ann was born. And their mother, who is my grandmother, who's passed now, was in her 40s. She was in her 40s when she had Carol Ann. And so the summer the summer between school, um my my mother Carol Ann lived in the city of Falls Church, and they say the name is FALLS Church, CHURCH. But to me it sounds like false church, like it's a falsehood, a fake thing, which I think is fitting. Um, she lived in Falls Church, and the that summer she went to New York City to visit with Aunt Alice. And the only thing I remember of her saying about that trip was that Aunt Alice was a prostitute, or she didn't say prostitute, she said call girl, and that the garbage strike was on and the city stunk and the smell of garbage came up through the windows. Um, so in 1958, up to the time when Aunt Alice, I believe, was killed with the quick kill Castro cancer that they were working on in New Orleans when the JFK assassination happened. I believe they killed the doctor with some sort of a EMP or whatever kind of weapon, um, made her burst into flames. That's what they said. She spontaneously combusted. The Dr. Mary lady, who was the actual researcher that Mary Very Baker worked with or worked for. Well, Mary Very Baker has said that they got her out of town and she never was a scientist again after that if she wanted to stay alive, right? And so, mm, what happened to the lab? Where'd they move all the stuff to? They got rid of the people that were involved in it, the David Ferry guy and the Mary Very Baker and the doctor. They got rid of everybody. So what happened to the lab? They moved it. They moved it to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. And so that would have been what, 1964? Assassination was in November of 1963. And they would have moved the lab by 1964 up to Baltimore. And that's where my aunt ended up. And at the time, 1977, I was 15 years old and I worked there. I lived there. I was explaining in my other video that YouTube just refused to upload and just gave me a big error. I told a nice story while I was riding my bike, and then the whole thing didn't upload, so it's gone. Um, so maybe Carol Ann went to New York and visited Aunt Alice. That was her older sister in 1958 or 59. Then turn around when I'm 15 years old myself in 1977, they kill my aunt with their cancer. And why do I say that they killed my aunt? Well, I believe that they did. I believe that they allegedly killed my aunt with their quick kill cancer because she had the same pattern of her life as Vicki Morgan had, who was killed by, or who had her killed, the Bloomingdale guy that she was a sex slave for, and she tried to sue. She tried to sue him when she turned 30 years old, see, because the McUltra, you all know the McUltra, well, it starts to wear off from the childhood trauma. And Morgan is a bloodline name. So Vicki Morgan and Alice Wahlberg Collins, my aunt, or Warburg, they changed her name to Wahlberg, but I know that it's Warburg because if you look at any of the videos made on Kurimeyo Ahua channel, he reads original source documents, and in there it's documented how the Masonic registrars and city representatives changed the information. They also changed all the Indian, Native American babies, made them into um, mulattoes and Negroes. Once they made that classification of people, so all the Native American people who were giving birth at that time, when it was just Virginia and Florida in the eastern half of the United States, they were forced to change the records, and all the Native Americans disappeared, and then the Negroes appeared at the same time. Why? Because they fiddled with the records. So that's how I know that the census takers were Masonic, and when they were going around asking who lived where and writing down people's names, which they did, I believe, up until 1940, they made their own edits and they hid people, and they did messed up the history. So even when you go to look, you see, I thought for a long time my aunt was Alice Wahlberg Collins. No, her name was Alice Warburg Collins, and her grandmother, who was, of course, that was my granny's mom, who came from Germany uh, before she was even 18 years old, was named Bertha Warburg. That's a code name, y'all. It's a code name. They named her Bertha because she birthed the babies. And she was a throwaway. She was a throwaway Warburg. They sacrificed the girls, so they had an extra girl. I don't know how many girls. My grandmother called her a mail order bride. She wasn't a mail order bride. She was a Freemason sacrifice. Okay, they sent her from Germany over here to birth some more babies for the John Walter Collins, my great grandfather, who I believe raped and sodomized everybody in his household. Because why else did I never hear anything about him from my granny, whose original name was Carrie Lee Collins, born in Pasadena, Texas? Her father already had a family in Tennessee, according to Ancestry.com. So why didn't they say anything when he left and made a new family? Because he abused everybody. So the Johns Hopkins Hospital in the news now is now in cahoots and orchestrating the the great hoax, the great hoax of the enslavement of humanities. And that's why I believe that they gave my Aunt Alice the cancer, because I believe that once they got rid of the smart people that were actually working on making the cancers, it took them 10 years or more to perfect it. And maybe other people had gotten it as well, but it didn't kill them as fast, so they continued working on it. So by the time my aunt got it in 1977, she was dead in less than 3 months. And so that's what I wanted to make the video about. My aunt, who was McUltra'd. She was in her 50s, so I imagine that she had remembered the trauma that she had been through. And I believe that because they said she was still uh, she was still, I believe, married to a man named Frank Fazeri who lived in Miami Beach, Florida. Um, he didn't come to her service that we had that was at the church near our apartment at 1111 Park Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. And they said that, or my grandmother said that her boyfriend was a police captain in the Baltimore City Police. And what I remember is I never saw him. I never knew my aunt to have a boyfriend. So in my mind, that was no boyfriend, that was some sort of a handler. Because if that was my aunt's boyfriend and me and Granny lived right down the hall from her on the third floor in that building, how could I not know that she had a boyfriend? I stayed there the whole summer before she died. Okay? Another another clue that I have is the little bird that was a parakeet that whenever I remember my Aunt Alice, she had this parakeet. And the parakeet was given to her by Frank Fazeri, and he's the one that taught the little bird how to sing and how to do his whistles. And he was just the cutest, funnest bird, and he was trained, and he would fly around the house, and he would chew up the newspapers, and he would scold the dog, and um, stand on the glass table and look down at the dog. And her name was Misty, but he never said her name. He just talked to her and said his name, Charlie, Charlie, Charlie. And he sang a song. He sang his little song, "Oh, you dirty little devil, don't you baba do you out? Got a hole in your britches and your dickies hanging out." And he would sing the song perfect every time, but he sang that little song. And so I know that my aunt, when she left Miami, married to Frank Fazeri, she left her German Shepherd dog there, Cloud, because they split up, I guess. And so she took the bird to be her companion back to the mean cities up north. And my Uncle Frank Fazeri kept the dog down in where he had a yard and stuff. So, what happened before Aunt Alice or while Aunt Alice was getting sick? Her bird died. Now, that was the best kept bird. He had everything. He was healthy. He was happy. He was just, and all of a sudden he gets sick and boom, he's dead. Was that radiation from the poison they gave her? Just like we are getting radiated by the slapped, the ones who are getting the slaps are slapping us when we get around them. Is that why her little bird died? I think so. I think that's why Charlie Brown died. And I remember coming out of the apartment down the hall, and Aunt Alice was standing in the hallway at the elevator with her little bird in the cage that said she had to take up to the vet. And honestly, I don't even remember that bird, nothing else after the bird. It just went straight downhill. So Charlie Brown was the canary in the coal mine, and nobody puts this shit together. You don't think about it at the time, but now seeing that slap people are slapping you when you get around them, that's the thing that makes me believe two things: the cop who I never met, who was supposed to be the police captain in Baltimore, who was supposed to be her boyfriend, and the fact that her bird died, I think right in between like her first time going to the hospital and then she came back home and then the bird got sick. They probably gave her some more when she went to the Johns Hopkins because that's where she went when she got sick. Um, here's a I don't want to keep you guys long. I know it's boring as hell to have no thing to look at because my camera is not YouTube's not allowing my camera to be used on my laptop now, and my record button is gone from my phone app of YouTube, so I can't even make another video to upload from my phone. Um, Interesting thing that I found out about Frank Fazeri is what I believe is he got his identity stolen by his probate attorney after his death in 2013. And the reason that I think that is because the record that I looked up showed that Frank, my Uncle Frank, died, in which I remember going to their wedding as a baby. And I remember my mom being terribly cruel to me for some reason, and I must have made a mistake. And I was her whipping boy that she whipped and abused. Didn't do it to my brother and sister, but she whipped me. And I remember crying in the parking lot of the wedding. I don't remember anything else about the wedding. But Frank Fazeri didn't come to my aunt's funeral in Baltimore in 1977, and he lived to be really old because he didn't pass until 2013. Well, his attorney that I saw on the document that said, when the house that he lived in, that we went to stay the summer at one summer when my aunt was still there living with Uncle Frank and his house in Miami, Florida, with the swimming pool in the back. It was like the best summer ever, ever. And Uncle Frank, his mother and father lived with him. They only spoke Italian. And Uncle Frank was not from Florida, he was from New Jersey. And so I think he had some kind of connection, some kind of ties um, to the CRIME families, Pelosi in Baltimore. Um, I had no proof of that, but continue with the story of my research. The attorney listed for Frank Fazeri's estate mysteriously died a year after the estate was filed or the house was sold. And miraculously, another Frank Fazeri pops up on the 411 and property records in Florida, but this time it's in Palm Beach, either Palm Beach or West Palm Beach. There's a Frank Fazeri listed in some luxury condo as of about 2014. Hey, isn't that 2014 is when a lot of stuff happened? That's when my house went into foreclosure. My second house that I lost that went into foreclosure. That was 2014. So a lot of shady stuff, going on from 2014. So I'd be curious to know if there's some kind of a research or detective. I don't know where to look. I'm pretty much like Columbo. I just want to ask you one more thing. how would I go about finding out? Anybody who watched this video, who's the Frank Fazeri that popped up a year, the same time he showed up, the same time as my Uncle Frank's attorney died, and which was a year after he handled the estate. And by the way, they sold my Uncle Frank's house to one of his neighbors. And when I called there, when I was researching this and I called there, no one answered the phone and nobody ever called me back. And so I'm pretty sure that whoever that is saw that my Uncle Frank had a nephew and two nieces who came to visit during the summer when his wife Alice was there living with him. And so it's not like all of those people did not know that he has some family members. So how was the attorney going to just sell his house to the neighbors? And where's the money from the house, from the sale? Where's the estate money? So anyway, this is documenting some evil, wicked bloodline, how the people do one another. I mean, who was it? The Plantagenets, those people who ruled in England. They killed their brothers and sisters, all kinds of hideous things that they did. Well, this is what's going on, and this is what happened to people like me, who was a throwaway from the Collins Warburg branch of one of the bloodline families, and so traumatized by my childhood that I only started remembering things when I turned 30. So um, anyone who's watching this video, this boring ass long video that I'm making, please go and support Nick Searcy's movie. It's a documentary on the January 6th. It's called Capital Punishment. TheMovie.com is his website. And you can pre-order your movie. Oh, hey, Rap. It's so weird doing this. I can't get my screen unlocked. But I just saw your comment up there. But I was about to get off here. I want people to go and order that movie, pre-order it. It's coming out on Thanksgiving Day. He was there. Nick Searcy is an actor from Hollywood, and he is a patriot and a conservative. And I'm sure that he's put his own funding behind making this movie and doing the interviews and stuff that he did. And he is under attack. He's under attack, digital attack. I know on Twitter, and I'm not sure where else, but I'm kicked off of Twitter now because I appealed something and they said, oh, when they get around to it, they might check and see if I'm making a mistake. But they didn't even show me what it was that they said violated their community standards. They just gave me a link to the page, the link that I retweeted that had the little meme GIF movie in it, and it had to do with the alpha seed Kyle, and someone was trying to make people laugh about the situation, and I thought it was funny and it was good. And now it seemed to have disappeared off of my phone, so I can't even find it for sure now. But If it was you who sent me that meme movie, please send it to me again in my Telegram at Galileo0723, because um, I can't find it anywhere on my device. Um, so I want people to go and support Nick's movie. It's coming out Thanksgiving Day. It's available. It's going to be a download or a live stream from his website, but they were attacking him just nonstop. And I saw he's in my time zone, and I saw him like way into the morning, like sometimes I am, uh, just fending off all these attacks on the social media. And he was there on January 6th. He interviewed people. He had his cameras out there. People may have remember seeing him there. Um, he's got video of like the actual size of the crowds that were there, because none of that was ever publicized. And it's like what, coming out on Thursday, so it's just a couple more days. You have to go and pre-order. Um, and I will get my links and my website information added to this video if I can. If not, I'm going to be streaming from another platform and maybe try to upload to YouTube where I do have some subs. And so please ask your friends to sub me too, because I don't have a recording button now on my YouTube, but um, I would like to get the word out to people about this history, the buried history, and some of the things that I see around the city here. I'm going to go back down to the Shriners Hospital and do some more recording down there. Um, yeah, and so I need some support. If you guys can at least sub my channel, watch my videos, make some comments, I would appreciate it. And so I know my son's gonna be, oh my god, my mom's putting a hey Aaron, when my son watches this, Aaron, they locked up my camera, so I could change my settings for other website platforms, but I can't make YouTube work with my yeah, they're trying to shut me down. And so yeah, it is really live. Yeah, it's so cool. Um, but I've been sitting here probably for 2.5 hours going through every setting on my computer. I'm even in the Brave browser, and this YouTube program will not allow me to use my camera. It took the recording button away, so I couldn't even record and upload later. So I had to go live with a friggin' no camera sign on my friggin' screen. So it's crazy. But back it up and listen, Aaron, because I put the message out about my Aunt Alice. And yeah, I have the OBS. I see your comment there. I have the OBS. I will just have to make my video in OBS and upload it to YouTube, because it's not going to allow me, I guess, to utilize my camera on the laptop with the YouTube program. So I was sitting here. I didn't know who was going to be on with me, and I was sitting here for a long time just talking in my cell that I'm in here in the city of Sacrament, and it's so uninspiring. Okay, I see what you said. I will back it up. Okay, and put it on speed. Put on speed, because I talk slow anyway. And enjoy the message and go pre-order Nick's movie, Capital Punishment the movie.com, And capital is with a OL at the end, not AL. Okay. All right. I love you guys. As above, so below.